Lovely to see you as ever, David Ornstein. Let's start by talking about Everton. Reports overnight that the board are divided over whether or not Rafa Benitez should stay. Tell us more.
Well, it is a mess, Rebecca, at Everton, and it's quite staggering given how well their season started under Rafael Benitez. But we need to look at this in context. The reason it's so stark is that Everton are now in a precarious position results-wise. I think it's no win in 8, and they've lost 7 of their last 11 matches. And Tim knows this club better than most. It's a huge institution of English football, and it's not going well. If we trace it back to Rafa Benitez's appointment, it was deeply unpopular with many Everton supporters because of his Liverpool background, but they gave him the benefit of the doubt. He had very little money to spend in the summer transfer window. I just think it was less than £2 million in total. He brought in the likes of Andros Townsend, Demarai Gray, started positively, but it's unravelled quite spectacularly. And the backdrop of this is that there are divisions at board level. The owner, Farhad Moshiri, the influential Alisher Usmanov, and certain influences around them. They want Rafa Benitez to stay in charge, but there are members of the board, we're told, that do not. And that's why there were reports here coming into the weekend that an emergency board meeting was called on Friday night. Now, we don't know if that happened, and if it did, what came of it. But certainly not all as well. There are suggestions that Bill Kenwright, who formerly was the owner and is still an influential person as chairman, would like to move on from Rafa Benitez. We don't know the view of the chief executive, Denise Barrett-Baxendale. And there's also huge scrutiny, guys, on Marcel Brands, the director of football. What exactly does he do? How much power does he have? Some people say this is on his shoulders. Others say he doesn't have the power because Farhad Moshiri, as the owner, controls everything. And that brings us on to recruitment of players, of managers. Who is to blame for some of the muddied thinking? They've had 4 permanent managers gone since Moshiri took over in 2016. Ronald Koeman, Sam Allardyce, Marco Silva, and of course Carlo Ancelotti, who came and went within a season. Maybe that was a warning sign, how quickly he jumped to Real Madrid when he got the opportunity. And so there is to be some sympathy for Rafael Benitez, but I know some people inside the club that just don't think he's working in terms of his style and his desire to have control over player signings and everything else at the club. So it's a bit of a sorry state of affairs, especially with the new stadium on the horizon. The fans are calling for the manager to go, the board to go in some sections. There is support in others. There's talk of them walking out of the stadium during the Arsenal match on Monday for a period of time to show their displeasure at this situation. And they do have a tricky run of fixtures coming up as well, with Chelsea in there, Crystal Palace as well. I think he'll get a little bit more time, primarily Rafa Benitez, because the owner, Farhad Moshiri, has his backing. But this is just not a pretty situation, and it's one that we should really keep an eye on. Traditionally, Everton and Farhad Moshiri in recent years do give their managers time, but they're not afraid to make decisions if it really gets bad. And just look at their league position and those results. It's not what Everton would be expecting at all. They've got financial fair play issues as well, so that it's not clear how much they'll be able to do about this in the January transfer window or indeed the summer, because they've spent half a billion, I should say, pounds in the last period since 2016. 500 million on transfers, and they're paying the price for it now because those financial fair play restrictions limit what they're going to be able to do in the market. They may have to sell some of their assets, and there are reports here that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a target for Arsenal, for example. I don't know how credible that is, but it goes to show that all is not well. And Rafael Benitez will need to try and prompt an upturn in form starting against Arsenal on Monday. It will not be easy, and it's one which we should watch very closely indeed.
Everton sitting in 15th, David, as you say, difficult. And you called it a mess there at Goodison Park. Let's move to Manchester United, where it's hardly really clean and ordered where their managerial situation is concerned. In has come Ralf Rangnick, excuse me, his first game today against Crystal Palace. Give us some background details on the situation right now at United.
Well, it was a mess, Rebecca, but I think things are starting to move in the right direction. Full credit to Michael Carrick, who steadied the ship in his time as interim manager or caretaker. He posted 2 really important wins, of course, against Villarreal in the Champions League to qualify Manchester United for the knockout stage, and Arsenal on Thursday with a draw against Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, wedged in between the two. What a platform he's provided for Ralf Rangnick to come in as the interim until the end of the season at least, and then move into an advisory consultation role for 2 years subsequently. He has an amazing run of fixtures now, which takes him all the way until March when they play Manchester City without facing one of the traditional Big Six. And it'll be interesting to see him get his teeth stuck into this starting today. Now, he's named an unchanged team from Thursday, which says to me that potentially he did have some influence over that team and/or that he was happy with what he saw. He was in the stand scribbling down notes, and I think he would have taken encouragement, but he will have very little time to work with them on the training ground. Only 1 training session so far. I've been told that a number of players are very impressed with what they've seen from him, including Paul Pogba, who is, of course, injured and will be coming back in the new year. But Rangnick has talked in his press conference really impressively about creating pressing monsters. He says, my football is not a slow waltz. So I think Manchester United fans can be excited of what's to come. And then I'm sure he'll have an influence over things going forward, advising them on the next manager. I think he said tongue-in-cheek that I might recommend myself like I did at Leipzig. He's actually looking at taking out a property just down the road from where I speak to you now in Hale, which shows his commitment to the job. Jose Mourinho, you might remember, stayed in a hotel throughout his reign. So he'll tap into the past. He wants to meet with Sir Alex Ferguson. He's referenced George Best and Sir Bobby Charlton. So he's saying all the right things, but he needs to bring Manchester United into the present to compete with the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City. He'll bring in 2 or 3 staff members to do that if they can get the work permits, which was a bit of an issue for him, and it will be for staff members too. But the atmosphere, crucially, around Manchester United is picking up, and they'll hope with Ralf Rangnick to have a really strong end to the season and that he can sow the seeds for, at last, a bright future ahead after a tumultuous period since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement in 2013.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches and much more.